Let's go! I finally managed to find myself the Arcade1Up pinball machine. Is absolutely freaking miracle. However, it's actually the machine I always want to have, the Marvel version, because we have to attack from Mars, Star Wars and Marvel. Now, all of them, what I understand of, came with custom kind of tables. However, let's do a quick overview, because this is a used machine I did pick up for quite a good money, so finally we can check it out if it's still worth picking up. So at the side we're going to be having some really cool overall artwork. The unfortunate part is mine faded a little bit away. So the other side doesn't have any problems with the colors, however it also comes with a unique surface with different kind of characters. So I think the overall artwork looks absolutely sweet. And the same is also for the back box itself. A beautiful light up when it comes to the back box. I think that's one of the features that did absolutely great. So what I think is really cool with the overall Arcade1Up machine is that the way how this thing looks. So the overall feel, if you're going to be using every single screw, this thing is a very overall sturdy build. So when it comes to the quality, I must say that I'm surprised. What I think is pretty cool is also when it comes to the overall configuration of the body. I think the body is a little bit shorter than my other pinball machine or most pinball machines like the Arcade1Up one. And when you're going to be combining this with the right screen, this looks pretty sweet. I know there's also like a 32-inch overall, let's say, upgrade you can do. There are some different videos out there. I was thinking about doing that too, because it's a very inexpensive overall upgrade and you can do it fairly easy. Where I must say that the overall display looks pretty nice. So where I had like a lot of Arcade1Up machines, particularly the Street Fighter one, they are using a very good display in here. You can see the viewing angle is pretty good. They added an extra piece of wood. I understand there are even some upgrades out there if you're going to be looking on some places. And you know, there's all kinds of cool upgrades when it comes to the Arcade1Up itself. So what is actually good, you can see like a little bit of reflection because of the acrylic. So they went for acrylic and not glass. I think that's a little bit of a bummer because of course it comes with like scratch sensitivity and also when it comes to the overall, let's say arcade pinball feel. I do understand it for the weight and also it's a little fragile where the acrylic is like an easy way to actually like ship these things out. So I want to give you like a quick overview how it looks now after many years of use. But I just want to give you an up close to see how scratched it is. And it's okay. I must say that I found it not bad at all. It's been being used or abused for many years. So the acrylic quality is quite nice. Another part I think is pretty cool is that they are using actually a look bar. For a nice, like you know, the way how this looks is very nice. The overall chrome and everything. And if you need to do a little bit of a DIY, you only need to remove the screws over here. And you can just lift up the side ones. They're also found of metal. And I think the overall aesthetic looks pretty cool. So how are these machines actually configured? It's quite easy. You just turn it on. It will give you like a loading screen. That will not take up a long time. And that's it. So there's a little bit the difference when it comes to this particular model. Because with this version, it doesn't only have the Marvel games. Yep, you can actually like download some upgrades or also there are videos out there. You can even upgrade with different kind of tables. But that's something we're going to be talking about later on. So at the front we're going to be having every single button we're going to be needing, like the on-off switch, volume control by a slider over here, having the two selection buttons, and over here we're going to be having the launch and also we're having a plunger. Later on we're going to be checking a teardown, doing a little bit of an overview how that looks, but I think it's pretty sweet, because you know, plunger is absolutely one thing I love about Virtual Pinball itself. We're only going to be having one button, and the button itself quality is quite nice. It's like okay, but I think when it comes to, let's say, the notch, there's like a sensor in the inside. That's why we don't have like an extra button. I think the sensor is absolutely one of the things that I think is like absolutely an awesome upgrade. In the middle we're going to be having two speakers, and the overall quality is good enough. The only thing that will be an upgrade if adding a subwoofer to this. And upgrading, if you're going to be looking into the teardown, we can actually do maybe a little bit of a tinkering, because when you're looking at the way how it's connected with a jack plug, so maybe we can do a modification there too in the future. But I actually wanted to do a complete teardown of this machine, because I'm really curious, can we modify it and is it easy to do? So I do notice a lot of guys actually on YouTube or other places have been modifying this thing with a 32-inch display, and I think that is one of the things you can actually consider, because the 32-inch will give you a completely like different immersive experience when it comes to the Virtual Pinball itself. Where I don't hate the original display, I think it's like the full, let's say, playfield is visible is going to be better. So I think it's absolutely awesome that they implemented and let's say the way how they actually do it is like the plunger itself, like with a magnet, and it just calculates sometimes with like where you're actually placing the overall, let's say, plunger, and this works quite well. The feel, it does have a little bit of a cheap feel wiggle to it, but it's something of a forgivable situation. At the front we're going to be having the buttons and everything. You can see at the back we're going to be having one massive PCB. I don't know if you can do any modification or connect the original PCB. So when you're going to be looking at the plunger, you can actually switch it out if you're going to be going into the full PC mode, for example. I've seen that before. And the way how they construct this is pretty genius. And at the bottom of the monitor we're finding, I think this is the main board that connects with a ribbon cable. So you can see there's a lot of space in the inside, and where this thing is quite compact with the design, you do have a lot of space actually for going into, let's say, modification. Audio-wise, this works with the jack plug. So I'm guessing if you're going to be putting in like a separate subwoofer, you can just split the audio cable, and this way you can just add a subwoofer fairly easy. So where there is a lot of space, I think this is absolutely awesome. I think you can even modify this thing quite easy. So you can just close it up like this if you need to do a little bit of maintenance. Nevertheless, I think it's an absolutely awesome way to play, and the original display, it's not bad at all. So if you just want to have like a plug-and-play solution, the display will do just fine. However, I think when you're going to be having this special piece of wood over it, gives a little bit of an in-depth feel, and also they're using metal parts when it comes to the lock bar and all the other sides. I think it's very cool that they went this way, and you know, this is one of the things they mostly like cheapen out with some of these, let's say, simple solutions. Nevertheless, if you're looking at the way how this is constructed, it's absolutely genius. And the 32-inch display, I don't know if you're going to be doing this, but for now I think this is going to be just fine. I'm just going to be just enjoying the virtual pinball experience of Arcade1Up. And you know, this is just another easy way just to play. So this wood panel in here, I think there were actually even some very cool, let's say, modifications out there. Like there were some really cool plug and play. I think Intech was one of those brands actually made something for it. But again, I think that is one of the cool things. So the acrylic fits in very nicely, and I must say that they went for acrylic and the overall quality is quite good. Okay, so maybe you can upgrade this with original glass if you want to. Give it a little bit more pinball, let's say, quality feeling to it. Yeah, the assembly, it's super easy. You just put them on the side, and that goes also for the lock bar. You're putting in the original Parkers and you're ready to go. So if you need to basically like take this thing apart, or you just need to do a little bit of cleaning, it's super easy to do. And I must say the overall experience is quite pleasant. Nevertheless, I think if you're going to be looking into modifying an Arcade1Up pinball machine, I think there are a lot of cool options out there. Depends a little bit where you're living, and okay, let's try the second screw. And again, what the heck? Okay, but getting back into the, like, say, the assembly, this is super easy. You're just going to be putting in the screw, and that's it. You know, it's super easy, and the overall feel, like if you're putting your hands on the lock bar, everything fits perfectly and stay on its place. But in the end, the aesthetics and everything, I must say that looked absolutely amazing. Also when it comes to the pinball legs with a nice authentic curve, which you can actually see over here. And the way how this looks is absolutely great. And the way how you can disassemble everything is super easy. But if you're going to be looking at, let's say, these Arcade1Up pinball machines, yo, there are so many freaking upgrades, like with stickers. We even have like different kind of colored legs, you name it. You can just completely upgrade this pinball machine in your own custom way. And there are many ways to play too. Let's do that first. Zen Studios, yep, that is actually the one that is going to be giving us the tables. And great instruction how everything works, like you see over here. And I think that is one of the appealing things when it comes to a pinball machine like this. It's super easy to use. Out of the box, which pinball machine from the Marvel are actually on here? I think when it comes to the selection, it's pretty nice. Only if you're having like alone Marvel tables, we're going to be having more than enough that we can actually play. The overall configuration of, let's say, the pinball table and everything works super easy. You can see that we can actually play with multiple players. And we're going to be even having the option for high scores. We can reset it fairly easy over here. And you know, the way how this thing works is so simple. When pressing the launch button, we're going to be having an explanation. A table guide, how the pinball table works, so you know what to do. We can just actually, like, say, switch, mounting the tension and everything, how it works, chaos multi-ball. So that's pretty cool. You can read through it and you exactly know how to play the game. But with the original screen, how is the overall quality? Like I mentioned before, the viewing angle is absolutely great for just a cheap overall affordable chip product. Of course, not to compare with like a high-end screen, but still. But when it comes to the overall graphics, it's really nice. And of course, if you're going to be having a high-end PC, it's going to be looking so much better. But you know, for a plug-and-play simple thing, this is playable. you can actually pause the game, and here we can actually resume, restart, table guide, the settings, because there's a lot of cool stuff you can actually do. So with the settings, we're going to be having all kinds of configuration. We can switch out the music, you can put a different kind of level with the SVX, physics volume, we can even enable or disable the solenoids if you don't like it, bell trails, and pop-up score and the major score, and even the calibration of the plungers in here, and the nudge sensitivity. Navigation itself goes quite easy. You can just use the side buttons over here and can just go back to the menu or the game in this case. So another feature, what I want to discuss of course, is the nudging. And the nudging itself works quite well. The way how it works is you can actually like force it to a certain sensitivity, and if you're going to be just messing with the table itself, and that's something you need to configure for yourself, how rough you actually want to play it. So one of the features I was really excited about is actually the solenoids in the inside. That is the first machine of an, let's say, a simple class that actually has this. And I must say that it's pretty cool. So first of all, if you're going to be looking at, let's say, the way how the knock is, I know you can even do some modification there. So with the teardown, I will show you where they actually been placed, but you can hear that there are multiple ones over in the machine itself. And the nudge, I know you can even do modification, making the click a little bit more aggressive, but out of the box, I think the overall addition of a solenoid is absolutely fun. So this is actually the first time I actually had like a pinball table or an FX table with a solenoid implemented, and I think this is absolutely a lot of fun. They did a great job with it, and it's absolutely a smart move. They actually went this route, where for example like Arcade games had like some of a weird subwoofer thingy underneath for a little bit of a feedback feel. They actually went for just the solenoid itself. So of course, more expensive I think for actually implementing a machine, but the overall experience of the pinball makes it so much better. But I want to be clear about one thing. So the pinball, like, it looks absolutely great and very beautiful and sharp, but also when it comes to the playing, I don't really notice any input lag or anything else, or some other problems out of the box. But when it comes to the solenoid, there's one thing I wanted to showcase. You can see that the solenoid has a certain speed. It's just going to be playing, it's going to be fine. But if you're going to be pressing it a little bit faster, it can keep up, but you can see that it struggles. But of course, this is something you don't normally do. But if you're just going to be playing, you will not notice it. I just wanted to have something to be a little bit nitpicky about. But how about the plunger itself and how does it work? I can tell you that it is absolutely accurate. Out of the box, I must say that the way how this looks, you can actually see that it moves very carefully. And I think that is something I love about this pinball. They made how to make this on such an, I say, simple plug and play solution is absolutely great. Because the plunger, you know, this is pretty cool. Look at the character over there. You can see that. You do have a little bit of a delay, but you know, in any end, like, it's working pretty well. Of course, what I must say, to be honest, I'm going to be looking at, let's say, the overall fixed tables. If you're going to be looking into like Virtual Pinball, then we're going to be actually having a way different overall experience, because those are actually mimicking, like, say, original pinball tables from back in the day. So another feature that is also absolutely awesome is going to be the DMD. And the DMD, I think, is such a cool overall add-on. So where some of the Virtual Pinball machines nowadays have like a screen at the back, personally, I don't really mind that there's not in here. For me, it's not even a must-have. If you're going to be, for example, upgrading it, you can also use the original DMD itself. It's tiny, it's cute, and it works just fine. However, when it comes to, let's say, the angle, you can see, yeah, on the camera, I think it's even showcasing a little bit better than in real life. But they're using absolutely lesser of an overall quality when it comes to the DMD. But I think it's absolutely awesome to have it here, because, yeah, just gives like a more full pinball experience. And we do have so many different tables. I know there are like full gameplays out there, so I don't want to go deep dive into every single table. I just wanted to showcase a couple of my favorite ones. For example, having Ghost Rider. That's just such a cool table. I play this so much on the sharpened table. And also when it comes to, I think I started this with my PlayStation 3 back in the day. So think about how long these tables are being around. Let's crank up the volume. Maximum. Also, the slingshots are communicating with the solenoids. I love it when actually popping the ball, the solenoids also react to that too. The same way if you're going to be looking into, let's say, the overall, let's say, configuration of everything. Like if you hit the balls hitting each other, you know, that sound effects you can hear here very clearly. So we do a little bit of a bass. So some people would not be something I would just something I would absolutely add to the system itself. But of course you need to be careful with the notch system in the inside. So now let's move to the next table. Let's press the start button. We'll automatically boot up into the game. And we can actually use the pointer if you want to. You can see like we can actually nudge it. But this part doesn't work if you're going to be bashing into it. Also you can use the button itself. But I found it interesting like how different all of these tables play. But despite they're like older tables, the pinball series, I must say that I can really enjoy them. The concave buttons you're using at the side are really smooth, very comfortable. So a lot of people have been playing with the Arcade1Up, and I can tell you they were really positive about the overall fun experience of the machine itself. But when you're going to be booting up the machine itself, you can actually hear a fan in the inside, cooling the system. It's not like really noticeable if you're going to be having a loud, let's say, environment, or if we're also going to be playing a game. But let's reboot the machine, because I just wanted to show you something. What is pretty cool when it comes to the Arcade1Up, there is even a modification out there where you can add yourself new tables. I think that makes this thing pretty cool. I think so. Let's do a quick overview. You can actually see over here, we're having here that Marvel logo. And there was a little bit of a cool thing when it comes to, let's say, upgrade. So you can, out of the box, you can upgrade it with more tables, like a full tutorial out there. But in the end, what you're getting is actually pretty sweet. We're having over here Marvel Pinball. We're going to have Star Wars Pinball. We're going to be having Williams Pinball, with Zen Pinball and Pinball Arcade. So we're going to be having a different option. However, with some of these pinballs, you need to add them yourself. You need to activate them. So if you want to do that, and again, there's a full tutorial out there. But I think it's very, very cool. So in this way, we can actually enjoy multiple tables on one machine. So if you're going to be pressing this particular button at the front, doesn't even matter, I think you can also press the other one. But the point is we're getting into a special menu. And with the pinner setup, we're going to be having the option to check out what kind of game. So I've been setting it to Marvel out of the box. So we even can upgrade to 1080p resolution. We're having the DMD, which you can see over here, Zen DND is enabled. And we can actually do storage with Zen external storage and PBA external storage. But again, that will all self-explain if you're going to be looking into the tutorials. But so if you want to get back into the menu itself, you can actually mess around with this with the front buttons, or just actually freaking reboot this thing. That's so much more easier. But again, we have multiple tables. So let's go into the Star Wars stuff. And in this way, we're going to be having the Star Wars pinball tables if you added it with the tutorial. So it's pretty cool. So what you're going to be having is different kind of tables like A New Hope. We're having the Empire Strikes Back, The Force Awakens, and many, many other ones. And again, you need to activate those through, let's say, a special application if you want to upgrade it. But you know, that is one of the things that is very cool out of the box. So if you're going to be having this particular setup, you can just actually play these games. Oh, I actually muted the music because it's going to be a little bit of a situation when it comes to the copyright music. So I just wanted to do a little bit of a gameplay for you guys, and you can even enjoy yourself the overall experience when it comes to without music. Or actually, what we can do is going into the menu over here. We can actually go into the settings of the tables, and we can actually shut down the music itself. You really need to get used to it, but the overall way how it is actually configured is pretty nice. Okay, go back, and we're going to be resuming the game. Let's crank up the volume. So let's boot it up. Let's use the launch button itself. But also the overall gameplay is pretty smooth. So what I actually wanted to also showcase here is actually the other tables, because I activate those, but if you're going to be pushing this into a 1080p resolution, we're going to be having some limitations there. So take consideration, this is not like a super powered, like say mini PC or some kind of an inside. It's just a simple tiny PCB board. But however, the gameplay of the Star Wars stuff is pretty cool and absolutely enjoyable. Another thing I did notice and just want to briefly mention is, so if you're going to be booting up the system like now, you're going to be having no audio in general. What you need to do is press twice a button, then it will activate the audio itself. So with the William pinball table also has been activated on the machine itself. And what I think is pretty cool also with this one, so you're going to be having a little bit of authentic pinball machines. I mean, particularly when you're going to be looking into, let's say, the tables, I think this is like an absolutely great addition. So let's do a quick overview of all the tables, and there are actually many of them. So No Good Golfers is absolutely fun one. And we're going to be having Roadshow, Hurricane, Attack from Mars. And the overall collection of this one is absolutely cool. Medieval Madness is absolutely one of my favorite ones to pick. But the reason also I want to actually show you this is because when you're going to be looking at, let's say, the 1080p that we're going to be running, I do find the overall experience a little bit, I must say that it's absolutely pushing the limit. So graphical wise, this looks really good. Like, I actually have this game on a more powerful Virtual Pinball machine. And I must say the details and everything, of course it cannot compete with, like, say, a 4K screen and a high-end GPU. But you know, when you're going to be looking up close, yeah, a little bit blurred out when you're going to be looking at the details. But you know, this is what we're going to be expecting from just on plug and play, let's say, overall arcade experience and the gameplay. So let me show you what I mean. If you're going to be playing, you can actually see, you know, it's not like that smooth with the other pinball tables. It can be me, it can be a little bit deceiving with the display itself, because, you know, that is a little bit of an, you know, situation. You can see the way how it rolls with 1080p, it's absolutely pushing this device to its limit. It doesn't, like they say, destroy the full fun of playing this particular game, but you know, it's, yeah, a little bit of a ball thrill, let's call it that. But if you're going to be playing and messing around with it, I think it's absolutely a fun overall addition. This is such a cool table. Also, the overall control of the game is just fine. I don't really notice any input lag here, despite the overall gameplay is a little bit of an, let's say, okay situation. The sellers don't really react with the trolls. But I do love the feedback of the overall solenoid itself. Absolutely great. But let's go into Attack from Mars and let's see how this actually plays. So let's go a little bit to what you need to do. Regular multi-ball. Okay. So I did play this game in real life. It's such a fun game to play. I think it's the same situation. You can actually see the overall ball. It's not like that smooth like with the previous games when it comes to the Marvel and Star Wars, but you know, it's still enjoyable. So let's go with No Good Golfers, another fun game I played a lot on the real pinball table. So one of the interesting things is just the way how the details are. Of course, normally having these plastic ramps. That is of course a different story now because we're using Virtual Pinball. I will say, like, when you're going to be looking at, let's say, the overall configuration of the player itself, that looks pretty sweet. But if I should actually check out what kind of pinball games I would actually play, I would actually go for the Marvel and the Star Wars. So where this is enjoyable, or let's lower the resolution back to 720p and maybe see if it having an overall better, let's say, smoother gameplay. Because this, you can actually see, yeah. I had some problems with the pinball machine that my audio didn't work, but I just wanted to showcase. I'm just grabbing my phone now and I just wanted to do a little bit of a tour because it's already opened. So this is actually how the display looks without all of the extra stuff over it. So I must say the overall display looks really clean and beautiful when you don't have the actually plexi above it. How about the inside? Let's do a quick tour. So when it comes to the overall configuration, I must say that I am really pleased with the overall solenoids. I must say these solenoids sound pretty good. I know there are some overall configuration that you can actually do. So what we're going to be having, like removing this, but maybe that's fun for another video. So this is the heart of the machine.
it's kind of funny if you look at it, like how small this is. So the reason I actually opened it up, I didn't have any audio. I still don't have audio. And let's see what's going on. So I did notice this connector is not positioned right. And this can actually be the cause of the whole situation over here. So let's remove that and let's put it back in its position. So we have reseated the connector itself. So let's see, this was the overall problem, or actually I'm hoping, because otherwise we're going to be having an overall problem with the cabinet. The click. And somehow I have still no freaking audio. So that is pretty weird. So we need to do a little bit more research what is going on with this. But I just wanted to do a quick tour and just show you an inside because I already opened it up. So what my model was interesting is that actually when we're going to be getting into the menu, you need to click twice. Then it will activate the speakers normally. And there we go. Yes. And do you know what the audio problem actually was? Not the big connector over here. I actually reseated the connectors for the left and right speakers and everything seems to be working just fine. Very happy because I don't want to intend to actually upgrade this machine with a PC. Some of the guys actually do online. But regarding the overall configuration, you know, it's kind of funny if you can see how they actually made it. I find it absolutely genius. So this is like a working plunger over here with the sensor. So we are just having the normal buttons over here, and I must say that the buttons feel quite nice. And also when it comes to the overall satisfying click. But it's interesting to see actually an LED on the PCB communicates with the system itself. So when it comes to the overall, let's say 4 solenoids, they're good enough if you're going to be playing some games.
But if you're going to be looking at like viable options, just start into pinball. I think this is absolutely a fun way, and I mean in particular Virtual Pinball. It's like an absolutely very fun overall product. The solenoids are absolutely a great addition to the, let's say, the overall experience. Something I did really enjoy myself. Where this is just like a plug and play entry level of a Virtual Pinball. If you can find this thing for not a lot of money like I did, I think you can have a lot of fun nights playing pinball. And from there on you can just sell it or maybe get something better or build it yourself. Thank you all for watching, consider subscribing and it will be great to see you in the next video.